friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction video 385. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters, it is that time once again, my friends, to get into a true crime, horror, dark, deep, and mysterious what the is going on type of video. And today, we going back to our homeboy, Adrian, from Coffeehouse Crime. Back to the coffee man, y'all. And the title of this video is The Killer Incel Rejected by 30 Million Women. The Case of George Sodini. Now, I think the coffee man, when he say rejected by 30 million women, I'm thinking that whoever this killer is, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking that this got to do with social media. Like he had to been maybe on Tinder or something and was trying to find a date or something, and he just was getting rejected by millions of women or something along those lines. But at the same time, one woman or maybe multiple women did probably, end up getting in contact with him or meeting up with him or whatever, because I think he killed some of these women that he met on Tinder. And I don't know if it's Tinder. It could be Facebook, Twitter, whatever. But y'all get what I'm saying, man. That's what this title seemed like. But we finna see what it really about. But before we see what it's about, my brothers and sisters, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need. We back to the coffee man, Adrian. Y'all got what y'all need? Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
With loneliness, frustration, and a burning hatred towards all women, George Sodini was an intelligent man with compromised social abilities. While he mainly remained normal throughout his younger years, George eventually found himself to be involuntarily celibate through his 30s and 40s. The more he craved female affection, the more he made women around him feel uncomfortable, and eventually, this tension turned into bitterness. As a result, George vented his anger and isolation on his website, and would even create videos discussing his emotions and a tour of his own home in the hope of attracting a soulmate. Despite these videotapes and posts being made public, no one would see it until it was all too late, and the consequence to this would be absolutely catastrophic, leaving 3 others dead and a total of 9 others injured. But who precisely was George Sodini? Why was it so difficult for him to find love? And how would this frustration manifest itself into chaos? Welcome back to Coffeehouse Crime, folks. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at the very disturbing world of George Sodini. Now, George was a very intelligent man, but clearly had many socially awkward tendencies, which pretty much put all women off of him. And as you'll see, his isolation over time turned into bitterness, which resulted in the deaths of 3 innocent women. By the way, if you're new here, Coffeehouse Crime is all about true crime, strange and chilling stories, so if you want to support me in the channel, please consider subscribing. And another quick note, but I'm rather under the weather this week, so apologies for the performance. Anyway folks, with all that said, please grab yourself a coffee, pull up a seat and get ready for the deep dive. This is the case of George Sodini.
Get whatever you may need. And man, I was hoping that it was just one victim. You know what I'm saying? We hope that it's no victims, but I was just hoping it was one. And it's actually 3 people dead, man, from this guy. And on top of that, it's 9 other people injured. So this dude just turned into a serial killer. It sounded like because he couldn't find love. But why would he take it out on all these people? Let's find out.
Welcome to Pennsylvania, folks. Home to almost 13 million residents, the coal state can be found near the eastern coastline of the United States. As the 6th largest state in GSP, Pennsylvania would technically have the 22nd largest economy in the world if the state were a country. With a rather dominant footprint in banking, manufacturing, and agriculture, it's also a strong new contender in the gambling and film industries. Moving forward, although Philadelphia tends to take the spotlight in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh is just as well known in the area. With a population of 300,000, its economy focuses on healthcare, higher education, and fintech, which is rather fitting for this case, as one of those working in the fintech sector was a troubled man named George Sedini. Now, from the outside, George looked like a typical man. At a height of 5'10", 155 pounds, and in shape for his age, he was a salaryman who worked for a local law firm and owned his own home. But sadly, as many of you will know, demons can exist in one's mental health, and they are seldom seen from the outside. So, let's start from the very beginning here. George Alfred Sedini was born on September the 30th, 1960, and grew up as part of a family of 5. And although his life at school was relatively average, things were not so functional at home. According to him, his mother was a vicious, vindictive woman who was into power and control. And as for his father, he was apparently useless. He never talked to him or had a real relationship with his children, and this angered George quite considerably. Here is one important fact to make in light of this video, but George did have some success with women as a teenager. However, he would also claim that his brother did often try to embarrass him in front of other girls. So, although we don't actually know what his family were like, it is clear that George did not have a great perspective on his family. Nevertheless, things seemed to be going smoothly for him in his younger adult years. He had multiple partners, a comfortable job, and was getting by just fine. But saying that, as we move forward to the year 2008, you will see just how much that changed. So, where do I begin with George as a man in his 40s? In short, by the year 2008, George had become a bitter man filled with loneliness, self-loathing, and misogyny. And unfortunately, these 3 emotions will steer the rest of our story today. George had become a very isolated man, unable to find love or even a sexual partner. He really desperately craved affection, yet was never able to find it. In fact, he even admitted that he hadn't had sex for over 18 long years, and hadn't slept next to a woman overnight since 1982, that being 26 years prior. And this loneliness was ingrained into George's mood, mental health, self-identity, everything, to be honest. And
Man, goddamn, y'all. Like, when you know, Adrian was talking about George, you know, not getting none, so to speak. Y'all get what I'm saying? Not getting none. I'm thinking maybe a couple of years at the most. 18 freaking years he ain't had none? Oh my God, dude. Since 1982, he ain't laid in the bed with another woman. I'm not saying that this is an excuse for what he ended up doing, but Jesus Christ. That's whoa, man. I do feel like any man or woman for that note. I don't know, man. That's just a long time now. If we humans, man, and that's just something that humans have to do. We have to do it every now and then. Man, let me stop, man. Let me stop. But 18 years, y'all, that's a long time not to be getting none.
over the following months, he became increasingly vocal about it. Beginning with George's outward appearance, he seemed to have absolutely everything together. As a systems analyst at his local law firm, K&L Gates, his responsibilities included analyzing and improving the performance of K&L's software. So he clearly was an intelligent guy. He was also known to attend the gym and regularly practice boxing in his basement. And the most recent images of him showed that he was in good shape with no unattractive facial features. George also owned his own home on Orchard Spring Road in Scott Township. Since buying this house for $79,000, it has almost tripled in value to an estimated $205,000 in the year 2023. He also had a new car on his driveway, so clearly the man was rolling in money. Before continuing our story, it is worth bringing up his home videos. Because in his frustrated efforts to attract a woman, George made the decision to give the world his very own house tour, uploading his 4-minute video to YouTube. And it's here that we get to take a first glimpse into the awkward world of George Sedini.
This is my house from the street. Here is my car. This is a 2-bedroom brick ranch. conveniently located. My car is an '07 Altima. I paid $79,000 for this in 1996. That's considered a lot, believe it or not. Okay, we're approaching the door. Open it up. Oh, someone left it unlocked. That's not good. Inside, okay. My big screen TV, 32-inch. It's my computer. Let me pan out a little bit. Computer is connected to the stereo, which I listen to my MP3s and everything else. Pan to the other side. Speakers on each side are large. They double as end tables. Okay, couch and chair, they match. The woman will really be impressed. Okay, come over here. There's some reading material that we're all familiar with.
It's worth mentioning here that this book, as seen on the table, is a copy of How to Date Young Women by the author R. Don Steele. Through this information, it is clear that George's loneliness and insecurity seemed bad enough for him to read books and research on how to date women.
Come out here through the dining room. I just bought this. Dining room set, rug, okay. Little hallway, 2 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms. To the right is my bedroom. Extra computer here, they're networked. I'll show you the Cat 5 connections downstairs.
Just to be picky here, I don't think any woman would be interested in Cat 5 Ethernet cables, George. However, this dialogue does highlight his peculiarity and socially awkward tendencies, which of course may eventually put women off.
Okay, looks pretty clean. I'm sure she'll be impressed. Now this...
He keep talking about, I'm sure she'll, like, he really, like, doing this video for a woman to be like, oh my God, he live in such a nice house, I want to be with him or something. Like, he really doing this video to try to date for a woman to want to date him. What is this, a fucking broke-ass version of MTV Cribs or something? Like, bro, this is not, you're not going to get a woman by showing off this. I'm done. George was in over his head, man. He in over his head. It's kind of sad right now. I feel kind of sorry for him, but knowing what he ended up doing, I don't feel sorry.
This back bedroom I use just for storage. There's a lot of junk here. You know, as we could see, bottles of cologne and spare change and shoebox full of old pictures and photographs and stuff. And come over here and there's CDs and all kinds of electronic gear I bought since joining the list, tapes and so on. We pan out a little bit. Could take a quick walk through back here, through the living room, the hallway. Here's the kitchen, stove and counter and everything I need. Just cleaned it up, all the cupboard space I need. Okay, I like here, you just come out here, there's a room with a view. My backyard and everything. Okay, let's go down the cellar.
George's home was both tidy and organized, with no telltale signs of a dysfunctional man. The weirdest part about all of this was the video itself, actually. It felt like he was advertising himself as a person, thus feeling rather uncomfortable to watch.
Well, that about sums it up.
And another thing too, y'all, and there's no homo, but I'm just saying, George, he look like a regular a guy that women would be attracted to. You know what I'm saying? He not no ugly dude. You know what I'm saying? He don't look abnormal or something. Y'all get what I'm saying, man? You know what I'm saying? He look like an average guy with nice features. So it's like, why you gotta go through all this to try to get a woman? Unless you just crazy as hell. And he crazy as hell. That's the answer.
Up until this point, George had mostly kept most of his thoughts and his feelings offline. But soon, that was all about to change. Now, if you remember that book found on his coffee table, that was written by a man named R. Don Steele. And this guy was not just an author, but also a dating guru. And this guy has some very abstract perspectives. He taught these men that all nice guys must die, that all women above the age of 30 are bitter, and that all women need men to take charge. And unfortunately, George was a devout follower of Steele. In fact, he was seen attending multiple seminars of his, which usually taught men how to greet and speak to women. It's a shame though that the narrative behind those lessons was so rotten. I'm not even kidding here. Watching these seminars felt like the old school version of Andrew Tate. I couldn't stomach watching all of it, but at one point, the advice given was to treat confident women like shit. Because apparently that's what they find attractive. Honestly, this stuff is garbage. During these videos, George could be seen aimlessly looking around during the workshops. I mean, he looked like a zombie in a work shirt, quite frankly. It was noted that he was reticent, shy, and reserved throughout these workshops. And although he was known to take many notes in class, he never actually loosened up with the women around him. As the months moved on, his frustration grew to unbearable levels. The man became an ever-contrasting figure of long-lasting hopelessness and fresh determination. George had no confidence in himself at all. But, all the same, the ridiculous seminars and unrealistic books made him behave in ways which typically bore little success. And that is when he created and posted this video online, openly expressing his conflicted feelings of both hope and frustration.
It is easy for me to hide from my emotions for one more day. Take a long drive in the car, listen to some music, daydream, or just do some mundane task around the house that really doesn't need to be done, that's not too important. And there you go, one more day, and one more day turns into one more year. Now, RDS says that I have approximately maybe 15 more years to be successful at this. And when I heard that, I wanted to continue immediately to start moving on this. I didn't realize I had that much time. So what my objective is to be real and to learn to be emotional and to be able to emotionally connect with people. Because when I'm 10 to 20 years older than she is, she has to feel good about this thing. And the only way around that, is to work on this. And perhaps STEM exercises or forgiveness exercises as per Hay or whatever else. I'm going to post this and see what comes back.
What the hell he meant by when she 10 to 20 years younger than me or something? What you mean by that? You think you finna be an old 60-year-old dating a 30-year-old out here or something, bro? What you got going on, man? This dude, he just, like I said, he just seemed like he in over his head. And it's just gonna get bad, man. It's gonna come to a head. You know what I'm saying?
Despite his determination, George continued to scare women away. In fact, one of his most notable moments happened inside of a church. Ever since March 2004, he'd been attending a local church, but as the years passed by, others in attendance noticed his strange behaviour towards women. He was eventually asked to leave the congregation after he was harassing one of those attending. This woman described him as a very strange man with an unnerving smile who wouldn't stop staring. The police were ultimately called after George refused to leave the church. And, as you'll see later on in this video, this would be a day that he would not forget. Around this time, George opened his own blog under his domain of georgesadini.com. And although he was reserved in those workshops, he would really open up about his feelings and thoughts on his website. His first noteworthy post began on December the 22nd, 2008. In his blog, he wrote, "Time is moving along. Planned to have this done already. I will just keep a running log here as time passes. Many of the young girls here look so beautiful as to not be human, very edible. After joining this gym, started lifting weights and like it. Much info about weight programs, diet, etc. on the web, or anything for that matter. Instead of TV, I can Google for many hours to relax. TV and most movies are dull." Sadly, it is clear that George's mental health deteriorated over the Christmas period. Over Christmas of 2008, he posted, "Moving into Christmas again. No girlfriend since 1984. Last Christmas with Pam was in 1983. Who knows why? I am not ugly or too weird. No sex since July 1990 either. I was 29. No shit, over 18 years ago. And did it maybe only 50 to 75 times in my life. Getting to think that a woman now would just get in the way of things. Isolated. I have extra money and enjoy traveling too, with my 25 to 30 days of vacation. LA was the best. But going alone was not too fun. Invited to a party on Christmas Day tomorrow. seems about 15 to 25 people will actually show. I like her parties. I can meet new people and talk. Got the next 8 days off. I should have the exit plan done and practiced by then. I know that nothing will change, no matter how hard I try or what goals I set.
I mean, y'all, you can't help but kind of feel sorry for the man. That man said since 1992 or something, since I was 29, and he said what I said, and he right. Like, he ain't ugly, or he ain't too weird, or I don't know. Maybe he was too weird to women. I just wonder why he couldn't get none. He had to be just weird. That's all it had to be. That is crazy, man. I'm stuck. I know I'm stuck on that, but I can't help it because that's a long freaking time. And like I said, us as just humans, as mammals, not even just human, dogs and cats and fucking rabbits and birds. Everybody like you know what I'm saying, do this, man. It's just a part of our nature. For him to go that long is crazy. And I kind of want to feel bad for him, but I know this video finna get effed up. It's finna get effed up.
And this is where I have to tell you what George precisely meant as an exit plan, because, as you can likely guess, it wasn't the good kind. By now, George had convinced himself that he was destined to die alone and that he would never be intimate with a woman again. And so, with that in mind, he figured, why bother living? But George didn't plan to go quietly, oh no. In fact, he'd become so enraged with other women and their decision to date other men that he wanted them to pay for his suffering. And so, this so-called exit plan was for George to head to the gym and then take out as many lives as possible before taking his own. On December the 28th, George posted on his online blog to say that he would shoot for Tuesday the 6th of January 2009. And remember, all of these posts were publicly visible. He then posted one day later saying, "I actually look good. I dress good, I'm clean shaven, bathe, touch of cologne." Yet 30 million women rejected me over an 18 or 25 year period. That is how I see it. 30 million is my rough guesstimate of how many desirable single women there are. And this type of life I see is a closed world with me specifically and totally excluded. Flying solo for many years is a destroyer. Yet many people say I am easy to get along with. Looking back, I owe nothing to desirable females who ask for anything except basic courtesy, usually. He would post again only 3 days later to honorably mention his family, removing the names and addresses for privacy. In this post, he describes his father as a useless sperm donor, his mother as dominant, and his brother as a bully. George also claimed in these honorable mentions that his pastor allegedly taught him that you can still go to heaven even after committing mass murder. I mean, suffice to say that this is categorically untrue, and was likely left in spite of making his pastor feel guilty after his exit plan. Side note, but he also mentioned his acquaintance Andy as a hypocritical idiot. On the day before his planned attack, he posted, "Tomorrow should be good. Life is just playing games. No matter how many changes I try to make, things always stay the same. I see 20-something couples everywhere. I think those years slipped right by for me. Why should I continue another 20+ years alone? I will just work, come home, eat, maybe do something, then go to bed alone for the next day of the same thing. I cannot wait for tomorrow." But the next day, George had a sudden change of heart at the very last moment. He posted on his blog once again to say, "It's 8:45 PM. I chickened out. Shit. I brought the loaded guns. Everything. Hell."
This man is freaking crazy, y'all. I'm done feeling sorry for him now. Fuck him now, man. He finna go kill all these people at this gym just because you can't find love. Like, that is so total bull. That is such a horrible ass reason, man. And I mean, different stroke for different folks, but everybody not even like him. Me personally, I can be by my damn self and not be tripping. It seems like he just feel like he just got to be with somebody so bad, though. I just feel like nobody in this world should feel like they just got to be with somebody for their life to be complete. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, I feel him, but bro, you taking this shit way too far now. This man here, man. And for him to be chickening out on it and stuff, he know what he doing is wrong, but he still gonna carry it out. Let's go.
We can only assume that George reevaluated his life in those final moments before then going home and posting about it online, because after this, he would go radio silent for several months. This is probably because George realised that, surprise surprise, life wasn't actually that bad after all. He had a good job, was healthy, owned his own home, and went on holiday often. The only thing missing really was a partner. But in April...
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, bro, you got a good life, bro. You just ain't got no girlfriend or no wife or no baby mama or whatever. But, dude, just give it time. Maybe it'll come. But that don't... Dude. All I'm saying is, my brothers and sisters, life is more than just having a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife. You know what I'm saying? It's more than dependent on you being with somebody else. You know what I'm saying, man? That's all I'm saying. I can remember getting in an argument years and years ago with one of my homeboys because he was telling me that you gotta have a wife to be happy. When we get like 40 years old, you gonna wanna have a wife because you don't have no wife, you gonna be mad. And I'm just like, bro, I don't agree with that, bro. Like, you gotta find happiness in yourself. You gotta be happy being alone more than you gonna be happy being with somebody else, or the happiness that you give to that somebody else is not gonna be as much because you never gave it to yourself. I hope I just made sense, man. Let's go.
April of 2009, he posted that his company was sadly going through layoffs, and in his pessimistic attitude, believed that he would not survive the next one. Between April and August of that year, he would log an additional 14 entries to his diary. And yeah, I'm not going to read all of that out loud, as would be here all day, but here are the most noteworthy excerpts. April 24th. I predict I won't survive the next layoff. That is when there is no point to continue. Right now, life is bearable and I can get by indefinitely. Something bad must happen. The paycheck is all I have left. May the 4th. What is it like to be dead? I always think I'm forgetting something. That's one reason why I postponed. Similar to when you leave to get in your car to go somewhere, you hesitate with a thought, what am I forgetting? In this case, I cannot make a return trip. May the 18th. I actually had a date today. Women just don't like me. There are 30 million desirable women in the US, and I cannot find one. Not one of them finds me attractive. May the 29th. Another lonely Friday night. I'm done. This is too much. June the 5th. I was reading several posts on different forums, and it seems that many teenage girls have sex frequently. One 16-year-old does it usually 3 times a day with her boyfriend. So, after a month of that, this little hoe has had more sex than me in my entire life, and I'm 48. One more reason. Thanks for nada, bitches. Bye. On July the 20th, George commented about getting a promotion and a raise. But straight after this, he then immediately pivoted to talk about how bad the economy is, and how the man hasn't slept with a woman in over 20 years. Now, this is a very important detail to realise. Despite previously being worried about the layoff, the exact opposite happened to him with a promotion and raise in the end. But despite the positive change, he does not seem to care anymore. This means that George continuously focused on the negativities in his life, thus further thrusting him into the darkness of his own mind. July 23rd. Wow. I just looked out of my front window and saw a beautiful college-age girl leave Bob Fox's house. I guess he got a good lay today. College girls are hoes. I masturbate frequently. He is about 45 years old. She was a long-haired, hot little hottie with a beautiful body. I masturbate frequently. Some were simply meant to walk a lonely path in life. Thanks, mum and brother. And dad, old man, for totally ignoring me through the years. All of you deeply helped me be this way. George never considered...
And I feel like he's starting to play like the pity game too. Like, oh, poor little old me, I can't get no girlfriend. Oh, the earth and the world it's just destined for me to just be this failure. No, nobody likes me. And man, bro, cut all that shit out, man. Cut that shit out, man up, and be like everybody else out here, man. Act fucking normal. Like, I went from feeling sorry for him at first, y'all, to now that we finding out about these different vlogs and stuff he was leaving and what he's saying. So I'm just like, bro, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit.
Why a younger woman may have left his neighbor's home. He never contemplated if she were a colleague, family member, friend, saleswoman, or even another neighbor who had knocked on his door to complain. George was unable to look at anything in a positive manner. He assumed the absolute worst in every situation, especially when it came to women. These self-destructive tendencies likely stem from deep-seated self-confidence issues, which we already are familiar with. Either way, he did nothing to address these issues with a therapist or a psychologist. After attending ridiculous alpha male workshops, he let his own thoughts consume him. And although he had backed out of his violent plans several months prior, he would tragically recommit to them in the summer of 2009. In his final written entry, which is dated August the 3rd, George said the following: "I took off today and tomorrow to practice my routine and make sure it is well polished. I need to work out every detail here. There is only one shot. Also, I need to be completely immersed into something before I can be successful. I haven't had a drink since Friday at about 2:30. Total effort needed. Tomorrow is the big day. Maybe soon I will see God and Jesus. At least that is what I was told. Eternal life does not depend on works. If it did, we would all be in hell. I will try not to add any more entries, because this computer clicking distracts me. Also, any of the practice papers left on my coffee table are used, or the notes in my gym bag can be published freely. I will not be embarrassed, because, well, I will be dead. Death lives."
Freaking crazy.
It is almost unbelievable that these journal entries were publicly visible for more than 9 months on his website. Although it's unclear how much traffic this website received in those 9 months, it was evident early on that George posed a risk to human life. What I do find quite odd is that, even in his final journal, he almost sounded like he was forcing himself to go ahead with these plans, talking about avoiding distractions and remaining focused. But George was fully convinced this time. And tragically, the very next day, on August the 4th, 2009, he travelled to his gym and executed his plan. On the morning of this fateful day, George travelled to the Great Southern Shopping Centre in Collier Township. He entered the gym at around 11 AM, just to leave it shortly after. Returning in the evening, he headed to a local restaurant just across the parking lot. At 7:40 PM, he then re-entered the gym before once again leaving, and that is when he called his mum, of all people. This phone call remained civil, and George allegedly expressed no intention to harm or kill anyone. Shortly before 8 PM though, the call was over. He then returned to LA Fitness, entering the gym at 7:56 PM. Now, it's unclear what he did for the next 18 minutes. But at 8:14 PM, he travelled to the far left of the gym's first floor and entered the aerobics room. During this time, the room was filled with members taking a yoga class. George then placed the duffel bag down on the ground, turned the lights off, took out 2 handguns, and then began firing into the crowd of 20 people. A total of 52 shots were fired with 2 Glock semi-automatic pistols, with all of these shots being reported to last for just over 1 minute. People outside of the aerobics room soon caught on to what was happening. In a panic, many fled through the front door and fire exit, and witnesses recall hearing dozens of pops and screams. Moments later, he pulled out a .45 caliber revolver and took his own life. When the police entered the gym, they would find his body over that weapon. Officers also found a 4th handgun in his pocket and a handwritten note in his duffel bag. And although it's not clear what this note said, it apparently did not outline his intention to take his own life. Witnesses would later recall seeing George striding to that classroom with absolute confidence, and it's believed that he targeted that classroom because it was filled with women. And sadly, this tragedy would result in the deaths of 3 of those women, with an additional 9 injured and 5 of those being critically injured. Thankfully though, all 9 would go on to make a full recovery.
Man, yeah, I really just thank God that only 3 is messed up. Rest in peace to them. But I thank God that only 3 of them passed away, man, because this man here shot 50 plus times in this, small confined space with 20 women in here. Like, it could have been a lot worse than what it was. Already was just bad enough. And I just hate the fact that y'all know I hate when these motherfuckers, they kill people, then they end up taking their own life. I hate when they do that, man. Like I say, I hope it's a special place in hell for parents that abuse and kill their children and stuff. I hope it's a special place in hell. Also, another section over to the right of the parent section that got the motherfuckers who kill people and then end up killing themselves. Because they need to go through something in hell that just, I don't know, man. It just need to be terrible, bro. People like this just, I don't freaking know, y'all. I really was feeling kind of bad for this dude at first. But this is fucking, there is no reason for this, man. Let's finish it up.
Miracles aside, it was all too late for 3 of these women. Heidi Overmeyer, age 46, Elizabeth Gannon, age 49, and Jody Billingsley, age 37. Heidi Overmeyer was a sales manager at a local amusement park. Growing up in West Mifflin, she was the youngest of 5 children, and neighbours described her as the best you could ever have. This left a lot of pain for her son Ian, who tragically passed away just last year in a motorcycle accident. Elizabeth Gannon loved to exercise and walk a golden retriever. Friends say that she never had a bad day and was always friendly to people. Working as an X-ray technician, colleagues described her as a wonderful, caring person whose smile would brighten the day of her patients. She loved people and would always do right by them. Jody Billingsley was in medical supply sales. She was a health enthusiast and was often seen biking or running in the hills surrounding her home. She is remembered as a very sweet person by her friends and family. Tragically, she is the 3rd one to be added to the list of 3 women who were murdered by the tormented delusions of a lonely, psychopathic man.
Approximately 8:16 p.m. this evening, Collier Township Police were alerted to an active shooter at the LA Fitness in the Great Southern Shopping Center. We have 4 confirmed deceased. We have at least 10 wounded in various hospitals throughout the area.
I just was upstairs on an elliptical machine, just doing some running, and just heard all these shots. Just heard a whole bunch of noise, and everybody just was yelling, "Get down, get down!" And I got outside, and there was about 4 women that had been shot. We just tried to help them the best that we could when we got outside.
There's a good belief that the shooter is deceased.
And y'all know another thing that's just so scary about serial killers? They just attack in the most, like, unthinkable place ever. Like, the place where you would never think somebody would just come in and just start shooting up the joint is where it is. Nobody thought at that gym that a motherfucker would come in there with a gun and just start just shooting and killing people. Nobody went to that gym thinking that. I guess it's the same way. Like, nobody freaking go to the supermarket and think that they just going in there to get a loaf of bread or, you know, some bleach, some Clorox or whatever real quick, or just going grocery shopping. Like, what is these serial killers happen? Schools, like, it's just the most. Churches, like, it's like, man, bro, really? Movies, it's like, well, we go every freaking day, man. That's what it happened. I guess it makes sense in a way, but in a way it still don't, man. Life is crazy.
On August the 6th, 2009, approximately 75 people, including friends, women's rights advocates and local officials, held a vigil at the Pittsburgh City Council building in downtown Pittsburgh. It is here that Jody, Elizabeth and Heidi were remembered for their impact on those around them. Shortly after the shooting, people across the world began to take notice of George Sidini's online blog, a website which had alluded to his plans for many months before the attack. No one had reported George's website to the police prior, so although it may seem strange that his public blog hadn't been reported before it was too late, it is likely because his website accurately reflects himself, that being insufferably isolated and lonely. Nobody wanted him, his love, or his body, and although we all deserve to feel loved, let me tell you, it has to be earned and reciprocated correctly.
True.
It turns out though that not even his money was wanted. Just before his death, George bequeathed his $250,000 estate to the University of Pittsburgh, though after learning about his actions, they rejected the dead man's offer. It was later learned that he'd made many practice runs in the hours and days before the attack. He'd even asked one of the staff how to turn the lights off, though they didn't think anything of it, of course. And here's a rather ironic side note, but to begin with, authorities believed that the gunman was actually targeting an ex-girlfriend, which is kind of funny because he never had one. Concerningly, just days before the attack, someone had actually reported George after he pulled a grenade out of his bag while sitting on a bus. But by the time the authorities were alerted, he was long gone. This was very out of character and not something actually mentioned on his blog. But thank God that he'd reconsidered his actions. Of course, we don't know what would have happened if he went ahead with that instead, but the consequences could have been much, much worse. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers the case of George Sidini. A very twisted and disturbed man with some very big challenges going on in his mind. Before you go today, I'd like to know what you think about this case, because George is a very intriguing individual. Personally, I think he probably could have found a partner in the end, but the man clearly was very socially awkward and had many challenges to overcome. It's a shame that, instead of getting the right support, he went down rather unorthodox methods instead. I think this was a case of loneliness, mental health issues, and not addressing either of them. As always though, I'd like to know what you think about this one. And yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up our case today, folks. Thank you again so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If you found this case interesting or insightful, remember to like the video. And if you want to see more stories, then please consider subscribing. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Please look after yourself, look after each other, and of course, stay safe. Thank you, and goodbye.
Man, y'all, did you hear what the coffee man said at the end about George supposedly or probably was on a bus and pulled out a grenade? Now imagine if that's how he would have committed murder-suicide. That would have been way worse, because ain't no telling how many people on the bus who the bus would have blew up, the traffic around them. Like, that would have been effed up. This was effed up though, man. This was effed up too. Rest in peace to those 3 beautiful women, man. Rest in peace to those 3 beautiful souls. And like I said, man, like George, bro, like, I mean, bro, man, you had money, you had everything, man. You just ain't have a girlfriend, bro. Boo-hoo for you. There's a lot of single people out here, man. I was feeling bad for him because of how long he ain't had none and stuff. Like, golly, bro, but we can help fix that, man. Like, dude, I just feel like he should have just stayed patient. I don't know. I feel like he probably just needed a good friend in his life to just let him know, like, man, bro, man, and help him out, try to get with some women or something. I don't freaking know, man, because now I feel like I'm starting to make excuses again. At the end of the day, he was a murdering asshole there. He was a punk because he gonna kill himself before the authorities and anybody can get to him. Like, he killed himself before he even knew how many people he had actually killed in that room. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just immediately after he got done shooting, he pulled the last shot on himself. Like, I hate cowards like that, man. Fuck George Sidini. Long story short, story long, man. Fuck him for this shit, bro. Fucking bullshit, man. This was a great video, though, by our boy Adrian from Coffeehouse Crime, man. We gotta come back to him very soon. Y'all make sure y'all come on back very soon. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that also. And I'm gonna leave you with this. Lord, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.